to DevCast number 6. My name is Bardaki, and the game is still the Unwanted War. This week's progress has been a bit slim. Some of it I can't show because it's mostly audio stuff. I've been looking around for more visual effects. I've been looking for voice lines specifically to flesh that out a bit more. That is quite difficult because I'm trying to get different subsets of voice lines for the different eras of history for the game. So that is currently an ongoing process. I'm also looking for some background music that can play in the background. I have a lot of music lined up to essentially check through, but it just takes a while. And yeah, there have been some visual changes. Some of these I can show you. So I'm gonna go with Emperor of France. I tweaked a handful of visual effects to be a bit more representative of the era, the weapons in questions. So specifically, obviously, I'm talking about muskets. So if I get a couple of the old guard here and position them nicely, I can also make this larger. And if they now just ground fire, you can see that their musket shots cause a lot more smoke, which used to be the norm. As a quick reference, I can pull off a cannon here. That still needs some tweaks. Cannon. Bit fiddly, there we go. So this is more or less what it used to look like. So I need to adjust this visual effect quite obviously a bit as well. I'm quite happy about this, so whenever the units stop, the smoke still lingers for a little bit before it entirely peters out. This will add quite a bit to the visual feel of the game. And just a little aspect of realism. Though it does not do anything with visibility of the units itself. Quite honestly, that's a bit too much. But yeah, I'm quite happy with this effect. Of course, this will kind of be limited to musket type or black powder type weapons. So obviously the cannons will get that as well. Right. Once we stop looking at that, unfortunately need the editor to work for me here, I can give a brief overview of some of the buildings. So I worked on the Emperor of France buildings this week. If I turn off this, so we have a nice ammunition dump, which is essentially just a bunch of rows of black powder. There's still some visual fidelity I want to add to that. I'm also now just gonna start looking at the meshes instead of the full buildings. So this is the armory, essentially the armory. That way it doesn't have any windows in the back. Also, it makes it easier for me. It is what it is. We get the logistics depot, essentially. I still want to add some crates, essentially, inside of it. This is purely for resource storage. Kind of makes sense. The fortified tower, you might have already seen in the social media posts, now has garrison spots on top, so you can garrison units into this tower, and they can actually fire out of this tower, or from top of this tower. There is quite obviously a relatively massive wall. The wall building is currently needing an overhaul. I have the plans for it, I just need to implement it. And once that is done, I can actually showcase that properly again. The wall emplacement is planned to get a cannon. So this is an actively defending wall piece, essentially. The École Militaire is, of course, the military school. So this will be where some of the higher quality units essentially come from. So the old guard will most likely be spawned from this. the Écurie. Écurie. I don't speak French, so I'm trying my best. This is for the mounted units, so this is just some stables with a bit of hay to feed the poor horses. And the État Mayor is the military headquarters. That's why it's a bit, you know, it could house the Spanish Inquisition, for all I know. But yeah, that's essentially the headquarters of the Empire of France faction. So this is the building you start with. This is your main building for the start of the game. Yeah, that is mostly the buildings. I have some little ideas of what I want to add as well. Some visual tweaks. Next stop will be for me to work on the Kingdom of Holland. And as a brief outlook for you, what I'll most likely start working on is... Where is it? I'm blind. There we go. Is the movement of helicopters. So especially attack movements of helicopters, I do want a bit of an overhaul to, so it looks a bit nicer. Currently they are all just hovering horizontally, but I want them to actually pitch towards where they're firing, depending what they are. These are mostly placeholders, so not all of them will be in the game in this form. But I needed some folder to put them in, so that's where they landed. Yeah, on this, that is kind of it actually. There hasn't been many other changes. I have done some stuff for me in the editor that will help me assign and choose different assignments. So what building can spawn which unit, what unit can build which building, this kind of stuff, because there are 35 different factions. This is a lot of data to manage. In Asset, it's just a bunch of digital post-its with digital string between them. Kind of what it is. Yeah. On that note, thank you so much for watching the DevCast, and have a good one. Bye-bye.